What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dylan. You are watching Western Farming Garage. Now, taking a little bit of a break from the riding content, even though we've just been getting a lot of rain out here in Kentucky. As you can see all the water right over all over there. A lot of rain. And, well, I would like to go ride, but I'm gonna be quite honest. I'm kind of tired of cleaning my foiler every day. So we're not gonna do a riding video this time. We actually have a shop video today. As you guys know, I run my own business, my own repair business, to be specific. And we have a customer today who has a four-wheeler that needs to be worked on. And it is this, what I believe to be a 2004 Yamaha Kodiak. I don't know the engine size, I don't know anything yet. So this will be a deep dive in together. I found the VIN, it's good. Hasn't been like ground off or anything, not that anyone would do that, but you know, just from normal wear and tear, if they're doing hardwood riding, sticks hitting the frame, stuff like that, messing up the VIN, but it looks good. But the guy claims it has an oil leak. The lady he bought it from said it had an oil leak. Well, I think we have already discovered where the oil leaks is. See this output shaft boot right here? You see all that oil on there? That's what I believe is where it's leaking, because I don't see any wetness, like oil wetness, anywhere under. Oh, there is a little bit of oil wet right here on the skid plate. There's a little bit of oil on there, so we're gonna pull off that skid plate and just look under the rest of the bike while we're at it. It may have more than one oil leak, to be quite honest, but right now we got to get all these plastics off, so got to take the rack off and all this good stuff. So give me 1 minute. In the world of mechanics and turning wrenches, I've never really understood why manufacturers love to do this, but there was 3 different sized bolts to take off this rack. So right here on the side, we have one here and one over there. 2 10 millimeters, one there, okay? And then we get here. Right here was two 13 millimeters, okay? So we have two 10 millimeters, two 13 millimeters. And then for some weird reason, there was two 12s right here. Now, this one actually didn't have a bolt in it, but a 12 would have been there because there was a 12 in there. So, 2 13s, 2 10s, and 2 12s. And that takes your rack off. So slide that in there. Then this is the hardware. Oh, and in the floorboard was 4 10s. So that is all the hardware we will put on this shelf. And then now all that's left to do is take off these Allen head bolts right here holding on the side panel. And then we should be able to just slide this thing right off and have some decent access to the output shaft. And I don't really want to take off the entire back plastic, but I feel like I'm gonna have to, unfortunately. So we'll open that can of worms when we get there. But for now, that's where we're at. All right, we have the footboard off. So we have a lot of oil drippage down here. And I think it's safe to assume that it's not coming from the output shaft. And I pulled out the drain plug on the bell box, and if it'll focus, there's oil on that. Right there, there's oil. So that leads me to believe that there is actually oil in the belt box. So that means we gotta pull the belt box too. So we'll do that. We'll pull the belt box first, since that'll be the easier thing to work on. And we will get started on seeing where this oil leak is coming from. If it's coming from the main output seal, it's coming from somewhere, obviously, but we will figure it out because it's definitely not good. And if there's oil getting in the belt box, that means the belt more than likely might be toast, but we'll get there. We'll open that can of worms when we get there. So right now we're gonna take off the belt box, and it looks to be a whole crap ton of 10 millimeters. So pick you guys back up when I get those taken off. Oh, and for context, for the footboard screws, the Allen heads, it is a number 4 Allen head. Yeah, an HW. Not sure what the HW stands for, but it's a number 4 Allen head. And the nuts on the backside are an 8mm wrench. All right, guys, we got the belt box off, and not sure if you can see that. So if we get down in here, there is a lot of oil within this belt box, which leads me to believe that there is a lot wrong in this motor. Which, I just got a face full of dirt. There's a mouse nest up in here. Yeah, there's a lot going on up in this motor. So we are definitely gonna have to pull all of the belt assembly out to figure out, oh my gosh, yeah, that's bad. Definitely gonna have to pull all this out to see what's going on up in here. There's definitely gonna be probably more than the guy is wanting to spend. All right, and just like any other torque converter setup that I've seen, this is basically the exact same as Can-Am. You just take you a 5/16 nut. Not exactly sure of the thread size, but it's a very, very common nut on most ATVs. 5/16 with these threads right here. I know that's not really much help, but it's the same bolt that you see on most ATVs literally everywhere. You thread it in to these holes, one of these holes anyway, and that should allow me to slip this belt over it. Yes, I can't do it with one hand, but that is how you do it, so give me a second. Okay, slip the belt off. It's fairly easy, and just toss it to the side. So then now we have a free spinning clutch. So now we have to pull the clutches. All right, started removing the clutches. Not sure how I'm gonna get this back side off. It almost feels like it's seized on there. I don't really feel like, I don't see a key down in there or like an Allen head locking it in place. So I may have to do some research, figure out how to get that off. But as of right now, we have the secondary clutch off, half of the primary clutch. Got the mouse nest out that you see down there. So now I just have to figure out how I'm going to get this thing off, because it seems like our oil leak is back in on this seal right here. So let me do a little bit of research and see what I can come up with. All right, guys, sure enough, couldn't find literally anything about any of this on YouTube, so I kind of just had to be patient with it, keep working it back and forth. I mean, obviously it's been very dirty up in here, so I expect stuff to be seized. But we finally got the rest of the primary off, and now it looks like we have this sort of cover that we have to get off, and it looks to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10mm bolts, it looks like. So we'll get those off real quick. All right, as you can see, more mouse nest up in here, but I think we are getting down to our problem. I think it is the gasket on this output shaft seal that is leaking, but first we have to get all this mess cleaned up. All right, we got the mouse nest out of there. So now, take a better look. I hope it's not a cracked block. I mean, I don't think it is, but I don't want to ride my hopes on suspicions. I want to be certain. So if it's a cracked block, there's literally nothing I can do. There's a lot of sludge and sediment down here. God, there's just a whole lot of everything down here, to be quite honest with you. But I think it is leaking from this seal. That's about all I can really tell, because I don't see oil like seeping from anywhere. Granted, I don't have it really cleaned in here yet, but that's what it looks like to me, is that it's that output shaft seal or the crankshaft seal. So we'll see if I can get this apart and look at it a little more. Huh. All right, y'all, skipped ahead a little bit. Sorry I didn't film a whole lot. I was really struggling getting this wet clutch cover off, but got it off now. And that is definitely the culprit of our leak. You can see it left some gasket behind, but it was all cracked up. So that was the culprit of our oil leak right there. Now that we have that resolved, I'm gonna clean up the surface, see if I can find a gasket for it on eBay or something. But now it's time to move on to this guy, the output shaft seal. This one's gonna be fun because it's gonna require a lot of wrench turning, unfortunately. Gotta tell you, it's gonna require me taking off, you know, the entire back half of the four-wheeler basically, because I gotta remove the whole assembly right here. It's gonna be a pain, but it'll be all right. So I can basically just take it off, slide it back a little bit, and then move it over, and I can get full access to this output shaft. I ended up turning the four-wheeler over on its side. That way I had easy access to, you know, I can just bend over right here, get everything that I need done in there. So that's what we're working on right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and start seeing if I can dismantle this, and we'll pick you guys back up here in a minute. All right, y'all. So I know I skipped way ahead. The bike is a lot more dismantled. Pretty sure last time I had y'all, I was gonna take off the rear, which I have since done. I just verified on the rear that it wasn't actually the diff seal that was blown, and it was not the diff seal, even though the diff seal is pretty cruddy. I think it's intact, and I don't think that is what was causing our leak, because my only thing was when I opened up, when I got it released and I got it separated, oil went everywhere. And if you recall, or I don't remember if I videoed this, but I drained the oil out of the motor, and it was very like watery, like it did not seem like oil at all. And it was the same consistency that was in that. The oil that came out of here, because it was all being held in here, like it was all just inside of here. And then when I released the boot that was on this side and I pulled it out, oil just went everywhere. That was very unintentional. I don't know how I did that, but hey, I'll take it. So we have now gotten the seal out of the back of the motor, and that was indeed our culprit wherever I set it. I'll show y'all. Yeah, I can't find the seal right now, but when I do find it, I will show you what it looks like. This is the U-joint. I may or may not have kind of messed up the U-joint a little bit. It was being very stubborn coming off. So there's a good possibility that we may have to fix that on our own behalf because we're the ones that messed it up, but yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I literally have no clue where I set this rear main output seal. It's literally nowhere to be found. I just had it in my hand. Like before I picked up to start recording, I had it in my hand. Where did this freaking thing go? Whatever. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about it right now. But yeah, that is our culprit on the rear shaft. It was indeed the rear seal of the motor that was causing the leak. All right, guys, I'm back. Got the U-joint cleaned up a little bit. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough in some areas. Sorry, my camera's a little blurry. Some oil or something got behind my camera protector, but cleaned it up the best I could. Got a little bit of shine out of it. Can definitely tell that someone has tried to redneck restore this thing at one point. Because, I mean, the amount of silicone that I just dremeled out of here is quite insane. Like, there was so much silicone. So someone has definitely tried to stop this oil leak once before. Didn't really work out in their favor, as you can tell. So now we're going to take the wire brush and the Dremel and go ham on this surface right here, because we are going to seal this back up nice and good. All right, we got both surfaces cleaned up. So now we're going to throw some silicone on there. And we're going to and bolt it all back together. I'm telling you, somebody really did a redneck restoration on that thing. I mean, it was unreal the amount of silicone they used to try to seal this thing up, when instead they could have just replaced the engine seal, and this probably never would have happened. But you know, what do I know? So we are now gonna put some gasket maker on there and seal it all back up. All right, got it all bolted down, got the gasket maker on, that'll dry. So we got the leg, or whatever you want to call this, put back on. I've already got the parts ordered for this, but it is basically a standstill now because can't put anything really back together until I get this seal put on. So until then, we're just gonna work on cleaning up this with a wire brush. I've got some shop towels down in the oil channels, so that way they don't fill up with crud and stuff. But so we're just gonna take a wire brush and wire brush all of that off, and then we will be good. I can't remember if I showed y'all this, but I found the oil seal. So this seal sat on the back of the motor like this on the output shaft, and let's just say it's seen better days, because if you look on there, see that pinhole right there to the left of my finger tip? See, that's where the oil was coming out, and then there's a whole dry rot crack right there. So trashed oil seal, but that's what was causing our leak, was that right there. So I got another one on order, and I will pick you guys back up when it gets here. And I also ordered a new spider and bearings for the universal joint, because I kind of messed up these. Which one is it? This spider, this bearing right here, I kind of goofed it. The rollers came out, so we're just gonna, I just ordered a whole new spider and whole new bearings, so I'll get that free of charge because I'm the one who messed it up. But I will pick you guys back up whenever all these parts come in. All right, you guys, got the mating surfaces for the gasket about as good as I could get it. There's still a couple areas that are rough, but the gasket will still seal, so I ain't too worried about it. Got the clutch cover all cleaned up, and then I got the outer housing of the clutch mostly cleaned up as well. Still got some rough areas, but nothing terrible. Hopefully it seals. It should. I don't see why it wouldn't. Maybe take like a flathead screwdriver and see if I can get the rest of that crud off of there. Off of here where I really couldn't get. Down in here. This stuff is really stuck on, I'll tell you what. These old gaskets are not to be played with. There we go. All right. Almost there. Got it. All right. Just wipe all that away. There we go. Cool. So gasket surface is good on both places now. So now all I gotta do is just wait for the gasket, which is gonna be a couple days. So I will pick you guys back up when I get the gaskets in. All right, guys, I'm back. It's about the end of the week, and I'm gonna go ahead and severely apologize because I got a little ahead of myself just wanting to get this project done. I'm kind of already basically to the point where I've got everything put back together, but I'm just gonna go ahead and give you guys a little walkthrough of what I did. So once I got this seal out, it's pretty simple. You just put it back in. I took a What size is this? This is a 1 5/16 socket. Fit perfectly. It was, I mean, it was basically the diameter of the seal, and I just took it, put the seal up in there as straight as I could get it, and then put this socket up against it and just took the hammer and just beat it in. So you'll notice when the seal stops going in. You don't need to like hound on it. It only recesses down in this little area down on the shaft. It only recesses about, I'd say, 2 to 3 millimeters. I mean, it's not a whole lot. And then once you get that seal put in, you put your thing in gear and just rotate your thing over, make sure it spins freely. And then the yoke basically is the same thing. Again, I'm terribly sorry that I forgot to film all this. I mean, I just got very carried away. But the yoke, pretty straightforward to put back on. It's just as a pain in the butt as it is to take them off. What I did was I started with getting the yoke itself here. I got the other one I can show you as demonstration. So on the shaft, I went ahead and put the yoke in. So say that this vise right here is the part of the yoke that slides onto the shaft of the motor. So basically what I did was I got the yoke in here like this, like pretend that there's holes on either side right here of the vise. And then I took my cap bearings and I pounded one side in to the point, well actually, no, I lied. I'm sorry, I'm a liar. That's not what I did. So the part that goes on the outside of the yoke. So I took I went ahead and bolted the other yoke onto the motor. And then I took this and I pressed the bearing caps in onto the other half of the yoke. Find one that will actually slide on. So I put the other half of the yoke in the vise, and then I just pressed them in like that so they were mostly seated. So then I had basically a yoke that looked something like that where these were free spinning. And then I brought it over to the other yoke and I just basically did the same thing, but I had to get these little caps in the yoke started with a hammer before I was able to fully get it put together. It's a very meticulous process, and then there's multiple videos out there showing you how to disassemble one of these yokes on these solid rear axles, so wasn't that hard. And then reverse process, just putting all of this back together. Actually, you can't see it, but in here, the nut that attaches the yoke to the shaft of the motor, I actually put a nylon threaded locking nut on the back side of that because I did a little bit of research, and the main problem for those rear seals failing is that these nuts like to back off and let that seal loosen up. And then as the seal loosens up, it'll actually start letting oil seep out through it, and then it'll just get dry rot and all that crap. So put a nylon locking nut on the nut, a nylon locking nut on the shaft. That way the yoke does not back off. And then reverse process, got all this put back together. For the shock, I put a washer in here, and I drilled out this pin, and I put to 1/8, was only one size up, so I mean it wasn't that hard to do. And I put a 1/8 cotter pin in there just for a little bit of extra support. And then now we get to our other leak, which was up here on the wet clutch. I went ahead and got the new gasket put in. As you can see, that's the green right there. And then I went ahead and I took some of my oil and I kind of wet the clutch with oil. That way when we start it, the clutch isn't running dry. And so then got it all in there now. And I got to make sure I actually put that in there right, because I got to make sure that one-way bearing's on correctly. But if I'm not mistaken, it's not supposed to be able to rotate forward. It's only supposed to be able to rotate freely backwards. I'm going to double check myself on that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. But this is now where we're at. So now it's just time for bolting on this clutch cover down, and then clean up this oil, and we're gonna flip it over and go ahead and give it a test start and see if we got any oil leaks anywhere. So let me get some of this oil cleaned up and verify that I have this one-way bearing on the right way, and then I will pick you guys back up in a second. All right, so I was correct. The shaft is only supposed to spin to the left. If you spin it to the right, that's basically turning over your whole motor, which I don't have the grip strength to do at the moment. But so when you put this clutch cover back on, make sure that that bearing that is on the outside of that nut on your centrifugal clutch is on there the right way, because if it's not, then your shaft will end up spinning this way, not this way, and that's not good. So now it's basically we just gotta tighten all of these 5/16 nuts down in a cross pattern like you would a wheel or something for even torque supply. So I'm gonna torque these down real quick. Unfortunately, I can't torque it to actual torque spec because, well, the last time I used my torque wrench, I sheared the drive off. So don't have a torque wrench right now. I still need to bring that to Lowe's and get a replacement. But for now, the good old mouth click is gonna have to do for the torque wrench. So I'm gonna tighten all these nuts down real fast. All right, so I got all my nuts tightened down, not my nut. All right, so I got all my bolts tightened down. Now, these motors are aluminum cast, so the torque spec on them isn't gonna be like insane. Like it's not gonna be like 100 foot-pounds of torque. That's never gonna happen. The threads will strip long before that. I'm gonna just go out on a wild guess and say that the torque spec is probably gonna be somewhere around 20 to 30 foot-pounds, if even that. I'm gonna go ahead and look up the torque spec anyway, just so I can show you guys, but I don't think it's gonna be anything higher than that. So I kind of just have to feel it, you know, by muscle tension on what this torque is going to be, because unfortunately don't have a torque wrench right now. So give me 1 second, I'm going to look up this torque spec. All right, unfortunately, since I don't have an actual service manual for this machine, I was only able to trust based off what people said on Google, and I was actually off by a lot. So the torque spec for these bolts is actually only like 7.5 foot-pounds. So you don't need to tighten down a whole lot. I mean, just basically a little ink, and that's all you need. Like, just snug them up. That's basically what 7.5 foot-pounds is. So you do it in your X bolt pattern just like you would a wheel, and then just go around the perimeter and give it one nice little snug, because that is basically all these little puppies need. Any more than that, and you will strip out your case. And that is not something you want. So, just give it a nice little snug around, and that is it. So, these nuts are now, not nuts. Why do I keep saying nuts? These bolts are now torqued down to semi-spec. So now I'm just going to take some brake clean and clean out all this oil gunk that's down in the bottom of here from when I was assembling everything. And then we're going to turn it over and put the battery on and see what happens. See if we get any leaks out of either of these seals. So give me 1 second while I get the battery hooked up and stuff. The battery tender says we got a full charge. So this should be a fairly easy crank, hopefully. Shouldn't have to mess with it too much. Make sure you got the battery going in there the right way. All right, now I need I think it's a 10 mil. It's either a 10 mil or an 11 mil for those battery nuts. Every one of them are different. All right, we got it all filled up with oil. 2 quarts of 1040 wet clutch. I still didn't clean out the oil down here. I still got to clean that out. So let me take some brake clean wherever I threw it. I just had a whole freaking can of it. Where did I set it? Ah, there it is. Take this and just clean shop rag. And we're just gonna clean this out real quick. Sorry, I'm kind of blocking y'all's view. So okay. So now that it's semi-clean, not really, but good enough. Let me get another shot towel and dry that out some more, because I really want it to be super dry. That way I can tell if it's getting wet from oil. Plus, I just want it cleaned out anyway, because don't want to put together this thing with a dirty clutch, So that's pretty good. I can kind of tell what's going on in there now. So we're now gonna fire it up and see if we get any leaks out of there. So turn the key on and wow, dude, thing fires right up. That's surprising. About dead. That not good. All right. From it being on its side for quite a while. We're gonna let this thing warm up for a minute. Open up these doors because it's about to get smoky in here. Whew! Get a fan going, man. Say the clutch is working pretty good. Surely this will clear up eventually. Guy said it wasn't smoking before. I keep sitting here and idling, but I think we're good in terms of oil leaks. I don't see any of it dripping out of that gasket, so that's a very good sign. Man, it is definitely puffing though. Might want to take it out on a ride once we get it put back together and just make sure. I mean, that thing is puffing quite a bit. Which, I mean, I would almost guarantee it's just from it sitting on its side with all that oil. Probably built up in the combustion chamber. It'd take a little bit for it to burn off. But I think we're good. I think that gasket is sealed up. Still puffing a little bit. Got a pretty low idle, but hey, it idle's freaking good. Crack that choke on it a little bit, raise up that idle. Hey, for a 2003 Fuller, this thing freaking runs like a top, alright? I'm very impressed with how this thing is running. I mean, dude, freaking Yamaha, man. Yeah. Smoke is starting to dilute now. Still some. I mean, it's going to take a while for all that to dilute off. exhaust is starting to get warm. I want to check, even though I know the transmission isn't spinning, I still want to see if this is leaking oil at all. But I kind of already put the boot on. I'm gonna go ahead and trust that it's leaking oil, because honestly that boot was a pain in the butt to get on. I'm going to trust that it's not leaking oil. Idle's very low. I'm gonna honestly turn that up a little bit. It's idling a little low for my liking. I think this is the idle adjustment screw right here. Yeah. Okay. Got a little bit of a higher idle out of it now. Okay, well, I think that is a success on the wet clutch. I think it is 100% sealed off. I still do not see any oil leaking out of it at all. So, we got it fixed up, man. Now we just gotta throw all the clutches back on and stuff. So, I'm gonna throw all those on real quick off camera, just cause it's basically the same process. All right, you guys, we got it all dolled up, put back together. I don't have the rear rack on yet, because I went ahead and took it out for a little drive. As I suspected, once I rode it a little bit, the smoke eventually did clear up, so that is a good thing. Now, it really needs a bath. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna give it a bath for the guy, because man, it is something for sure. But now I just gotta rehook up all these brake lines and stuff. I'm gonna do all that off camera, but thank you guys so much for watching. I say this is a very, very successful video. I don't get one of those repair videos often where my final product is actually successful. So normally it's, you start fixing one thing and then you have to fix another thing and then you have to fix another thing. Just calling back to the brute force era. If you haven't watched any of those videos, I suggest you go watch them. They're pretty hilarious. But thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share this video with a friend. If you have a friend that has a Yamaha Kodiak 400 and it's leaking oil, this video might help them. So be sure to share it. And as always, peace out.